Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Yashodhanandana Vraj Jananandana, Yashodhanandana Vraj Jananandana, Jamuna Tira Bhavachari, Jamuna Tira Bhavachari, Radha Kunja Vihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams to all. Anyone wants to do Harinam Sankirtan can do it for another 2 minutes till Prabhuji joins.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Harinam Sankirtan or anything else is also okay?
Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be better, Mataji. I think okay. Mostly in 2 minutes he'll be joining.
Yeah, sure. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrind ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Over to you, Prabhuji. Anirudh Seva, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Very well. Hare Krishna, I think you're muted.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Very well, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji, would you wish to have screen sharing?
No, Mataji, better if anybody can do it.
Yes, Prabhuji, that's what.
Please
Chandra
share.
Mataji, please share.
Yes, Mataji.
I think many of them are muted. So,
Prabhuji, we remain muted when we start the when we start the recitation, we'll get unmuted. Prabhuji.
Okay,
I
okay.
muted the participants on entry.
I see. Okay. I'll start with the Kirtan, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, sure, Prabhuji.
Okay,
We
fine.
can start.
Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari यशोदानंदन व्रजनरंजन यमुनातीरवनचारी यशोदानंदन व्रजनरंजन यमुनातीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा जय राधा मुरलीधर राधा मुरलीधर राधा जय राधा रमण राधा रमण राधा जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बल जय सुभद्रा कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय वृंदावन धाम जय वृंदावन धाम वृंदावन धाम जय वृंदावन जय गौरनीता जय गौरनीता गौरनीता जय गौरन जय पंचतत्वा जय पंचतत्वा पंचतत्वा जय पंचतत्वा जय प्रभुपादा गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय मिष्पात परम स्तोत्र सदासु इस जन ग्रह सभा चरण भक्ति धम श्रील प्रपाद महाराज इसकॉन संस्थापक श्रील प्रपाद कृष्ण कृपा श्रील प्रपाद महाराज जगत गुरु श्रील प्रपाद महाराज जय जय ओम मिष्पाद परम प्रजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सदासु भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय अनंत कोटि आचार्य वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्रील हरदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम को जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय मायापुर नदी धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी द्वारका धाम की जय गंगे मैम माया की जय तुलसी भक्ति देव की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसलेट बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन all glories to assembled duties all glories to assembled duties all glories to assembled duties all glories Shri Guru Shri Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna. So I welcome all the devotees for today's Shrimad Bhagavatam session, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So I'll start with my prayers. Hare Krishna. Om Agnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmritam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvidam Cha He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhan Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpataruvash Kripa Sindhu Bhyacha Bhaktanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiret Nashtaprayesha Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from third canto, 5th chapter, 42nd verse. So 42 to 46 will be covered by me today. So I'll recite this first 42nd shloka and the translation. Devotees can read the purport. Yashraddhaya Shutavatya cha bhaktya samvrajyamane hridaye avadhaya gnanena vairagya balena dhira vraje matatte angri saroja pitham. Yashraddhaya Shutavatya cha bhaktya samvrajyamane hridaye avadhaya Dhanena vairagya balena dhira vraje matatte angri saroja pitham. Yashraddhaya Shutavatya cha bhaktya samvrajyamane hridaye avadhaya Dhanena vairagya balena dhira vraje matatte angri saroja pitham. Word by word meaning, yat that which, Shraddhaya by eagerness, Shruta Vatya simply by hearing, Cha also, Bhaktya in devotion, Samrajyamane being cleansed, Hridaye in the heart, Avadhaya meditation, Gnanena by knowledge, Vairagya detachment, Balena by the strength of, Dhiraha the pacified, Vrajema must go to, Tat that they your angry feet, Saroja Pitam lotus sanctuary. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge, and on the strength of detachment, one becomes pacified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary of your lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Purport. So devotees can read the purport. I think it's, 2 paras are there. Two of them can share.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The miracles of meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord with eagerness and devotion are so great that no other process can compare to it. The minds of materialistic persons are so disturbed that it is almost impossible for them to search after the supreme truth by personal regulative endeavors. But even such materialistic men, with a little eagerness for hearing about the transcendental name, fame, qualities, etc., can surpass all other methods of attaining knowledge and detachment. The conditioned soul is attached to the bodily conception of the self, and therefore he is in ignorance. Culture of self-knowledge can bring about detachment from material affection, and without such detachment, there is no meaning to knowledge. The most stubborn attachment for material enjoyment is sex life. One who is attached to sex life is to be understood as devoid of knowledge. Knowledge must be followed by detachment. That is the way of self-realization. These two essentials for self-realization, knowledge and detachment, become manifest very quickly if one performs devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord. The word dhira is very significant in this connection. A person who is not disturbed even in the presence of cause of disturbance is called dhira. Sri Yamunacharya says, since my heart has been overwhelmed by the devotional service of Lord Krishna, I cannot even think of sex life. And if thoughts of sex come upon me, I at once feel disgust. A devotee of the Lord becomes an elevated dhira by the simple process of meditating in eagerness on the lotus feet of the Lord. Devotional service entails being initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and following his instruction in the regard of to hearing about the Lord. Such a bona fide spiritual master is accepted by regularly hearing from him about the Lord. The improvement in knowledge and detachment can be perceived by devotees as an actual experience. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu strongly recommended this process of hearing from a bona fide devotee, and by following this process, one can achieve the highest result, conquering all the methods. Hare Krishna.
All of them.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thanks a lot. Om Gnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalaka Chakshunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, we are in this chapter. The 5th chapter is about the talks between Vidura and Maitreya. As you know, both of them are exalted devotees, and they are discussing about the Krishna Katha. Now, Vidura had many doubts to clarify more about the creation and how the Lord is manifesting all this incarnation, and how he's controlling this various living entities, how they are attracted to his mystic power. So like this, he wants to know about the auspicious characters of the Lord. And that is how he is actually giving us that knowledge. He's sharing that knowledge with us actually. Yeah, there is this 9th shloka in this chapter. He says, "O chief amongst Brahmanas," he's addressing Maitreya, "please also describe how Narayana, the creator of the universe and the self-sufficient Lord, has differently created the natures, activities, forms, features, and names of the different living entities." So like this, he's inquiring about these, the nature, the living entities, and he gets the answer. And finally, they talk about the Mahatattva and the influence of all the elements, the 24 elements which are there, the different the 3 modes, how these 3 modes are getting influenced for these elements, and how they act upon the living entity. So like this, these all have been discussed. Of course, finally he comes to the conclusion that it is in the 37th shloka. He says, "Gentlemen, of all the physical elements beginning from sky down to the earth, all the inferior and superior qualities are due only to the final touch of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So like this, the Lord's glorification is magnified or quantified by these explanation. And in the meantime, the demigods are also praising the Lord. So that starts from shloka 39. You would have already read that. And this 42 shloka is also the praising by the demigods. Demigods are also eager and wonderstruck by the supreme potency of the Lord, and that is their realization. And we are reading this shloka 42, which is the demigod's realization. "Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge, and the strength of the detachment, one becomes pacified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary of your lotus feet." So very powerful shloka, and very powerful purport by Srila Prabhupada also. So here it is giving the essence of our spiritual life. What is that we need to do? Hearing. So the first is the Shrinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hrudayantastohi Abhadrani Vidinoti Sarhat Sataha. So in the Bhagavatam also, in the beginning, the first canto itself, and in the second chapter itself, this shloka comes. So Shrinvata Swakatha Krishna. So you have to hear the glories of the Lord, and that urge should be there, the desire should be there. And Swakatha means Krishna himself has told about his virtues, about his, and he has made it manifested. So about his pastimes, his leelas. So, and by doing that, you get punya, the virtues. You'll become virtuous. You will, and then you start glorifying him, Shravana Kirtana. Also, you do chanting of his holy name. And what is the benefit? by doing that, hrudayantostohi avidrani, whatever the contamination is there in this material world, because the living entity has come into this material world and is getting contaminated day by day. It is like you put salt into the water. The moment the salt is put into the water, drop by drop, the water becomes contaminated. It becomes salty. And how much ever you try to do to make it purified, you cannot separate the salt because it's already dissolved actually. So it's also already entered into the chemical characteristics of this water. So you cannot get fresh water from that. But there is also a process of getting fresh water. That is by say filtration or by boiling the water, or there are so many methods by or adding some elements where you can remove that salty nature in the water and get some pure water. So like this, there are certain processes which are involved where you can remove that contamination. So that contamination, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said in his Shishtastakam. So that is the process, Bhakti Yoga, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. We have to do that. Our heart is contaminated, and that has to be cleansed, and it should be washed, or it should be completely. How it can be done? Only by chanting the holy names and by getting involved in the spiritual process. Otherwise, we'll get more and more absorbed in this material world, and then there is no end to it, and then we'll suffer. So that's why you have to do that. And then Vidunoti Suhrit Satam. So Suhrit is Krishna is that we have to have that faith that he is our benefactor. And Satam means of the devotees. Of those devotees, Krishna is going to help us and become ourselves purified, because the whole purpose of our human existence, if you look at it, is that we just need to get purified. Our senses has to be purified, our heart, our mind, our body, everything, all the intelligence, all this has to be coming purified. And once you are in the purified stage, and that can happen only if you are in the mode of goodness, sattva-guna. And then we can, by doing the bhakti yoga, you can actually come to the platform of pure goodness, because just mere goodness, sattva-guna, is also not enough. But when you are associated with Krishna and his devotees and his paraphernalia and his glorification, then actually we move from the mode of goodness to the pure goodness. But the challenge here is that how long we can manage to be in that, because the moment we come out of the temple, or the moment we come out of our daily routine puja activities or chanting or something, then you are exposed to the material world, and again there is chances that you might get attracted to the material world. So now that is a challenge, how you can by staying although in the material world, by being surrounded by so much of divergence or distractions, how you can remain within this mode of goodness. And then, because the moment you do bhakti yoga, you are actually in the platform of pure goodness. So that is a big challenge for all of us, and that is what we are trying to manage in our lives. And once we do that, obviously we'll become virtuous and we'll be qualified. That is a qualification to become a pure devotee, and then we can cross over. So like this, it is so here it is mentioned 42. So this shloka is talking and giving more stress on the listening, Shrinvata, and then Shraddhaya. So with a lot of eagerness, or with a lot of devotion, or you can say with a lot of conviction, you have to do that. And by doing that, and also the most important factor here is telling that the hearing about the lotus feet, your lotus feet. So, and then by meditating. So these two have been stressed here. Then what will happen is that you will get the knowledge and the strength for detachment. So these two are the byproducts, which is mentioned. And again, Bhagavatam in the first canto, this shloka is very famous shloka is there. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Gnanam cha, gnanam chayat ahaitukam. So this is the, again, Shukadeva Goswami is telling to Parikshit Maharaj that by doing devotional service, unto whom? Unto Vasudeva Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. What you will get? Janayati Ashu Vairagyam. So what will generate or what will happen, manifest is that you will get detachment, Vairagya, and Gnanam, the knowledge of what is required. And that's something which is causeless. The Lord's mercy is always causeless. Guru's mercy is always causeless. So like this here, this is again one more shloka which is going to support us in this aspect, that the more we get knowledge, the more we engage in devotional service, we get knowledge, and the more we get knowledge, we can detach from this material world. Like the two rails, the two lines of the railway track. So both the lines are there, and both run parallelly. And then now, if you have to get the mercy, you have to get the mercy. So you have to make sure that you're trying to get this knowledge, and then you're also withdrawing from the materialistic desires. Only then we can progress. And then finally, you must take shelter of your lotus feet. So Prabhupada also mentioned in the purport very wonderfully that miracles, he says the miracles, the most important thing is meditating on the lotus feet with eagerness and devotion are so great that no other process can compare it. So this is actually the beginning stage of our bhakti and meditation. If we have to really progress, Shastras, Bhagavatam itself says that the lotus feet, meditating on the lotus feet actually will take one from the clutches, the materialistic clutches of this contaminated life. So also Bhagavatam, in one of the shlokas in the second canto, talks about this how to take darshan of the Lord, and this is the shloka 2.2.13. So in that, the process of meditation from the lotus feet is mentioned. So it says, Ekaikasho Angani Dhyanu Bhavayet Padadi Yavad Dhajitam Gadabrataha Jitam Sthanam Apohya Dharayet Param Shuddhayati Dhira Yathayatha. So Bhagavatam says the process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face, hasitam, to his face, smiling face, mandahasa. We have to come to that. But first, it should start from pada, from his lotus feet. The meditation should be concentrated on the lotus feet first, then the calves, the legs, the calves portion, then the thighs, and in this way, higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified. So like this, very clearly, Shastras are giving us the process. So, and it is also said in Bhagavatam that the more the devotee concentrates, whenever we go to the temple, when we have darshan of the Lord, take darshan of the Lord. This should be the process. But apparently, knowingly or unknowingly, even after having known this fact also, unfortunately, when most of the time when we go to the temple to have darshan, first we would like to see the smiling face of the Lord, and then because we are so attached to see the face, and that is how we actually get captivated. But that is actually not the right process. The process is this: the Shastra says that it should be. By means, why? Because the lotus feet is because that is where the Lord's shelter. If you have to get the shelter of the Lord, you have to focus on his lotus feet. We have to approach the lotus feet. Then only we can come to the smiling face. So like this, the Shastras are teaching us. So it's otherwise we'll get captivated, and we may not be in that mood to appreciate. So first you surrender yourself, be humble, bow down your head, and then the Lord will give the intelligence. Then you will get purified. So this is a very important lesson. And Prabhupada also mentions in various purports also that how this is most potent for a devotee. And it is said it acts like a thunderbolt, Vajrayuda, to curb the material desires of the devotee. So if anyone has to want to progress in material life and then have to control their material desires, then they have to concentrate like this. Then it will work like a thunderbolt and clear up, and it can eradicate all our vicious desires. So that way, Shastra says. And further glorifying on the lotus feet, there are so many instances in the in Krishna's pastimes that we find that those who took shelter of the lotus feet actually were devotees, and they got the mercy of the Lord. The famous pastime of Arjuna and Duryodhana, like when then the war was declared, and the war was declared between Pandavas and Kauravas, and it was announced that that Krishna is ready to meet the two leaders, and he had invited you, please come, and he had already made an offer that I'm not participating in the war, but I can do two things to you. What is that? I can give my Narayani Akshohini army of about 18 Akshohinis, and which is a huge base of army consisting of the cavalry, the horses, the elephants, the chariots, the soldiers, foot soldiers. So many was there in that, millions of entities. And another one option was that you can take me, you can take my support. I can be there, I can come and help you, I can become a charioteer, or I can do any of the sort of menial seva. So you can take. So this was the offer he had given. And as we all know, that the most arrogant Duryodhana, he went first, and then he took he wanted, while Krishna was lying down, so he came, and then Krishna was facing Duryodhana. As he came, his head was in the opposite direction, and then he came, and then he sat next to where Krishna's head was there. And then when Arjuna came, he came and he saw that Lord was lying, and then he saw that his lotus feet were the first he could see first, and then he actually sat at the lotus feet of the Lord. And then when Krishna, in his pastime as a Leela, he was all pretending to make the more Leela more educative, or to teach Duryodhana a lesson. So he opened up his eyes. So when he opened up his eyes, the obvious vision, the first it fell on Arjuna, right? Because he was just in front of him, whereas Duryodhana was at the head side, at the back side. So he could not. So he opened his eyes and he saw Arjuna, and then he asked Arjuna, "Oh, what do you want?" Then Duryodhana got very irritated. My God, what is this? I came first, and I am sitting here, and you are asking Krishna again. You are doing pakshapata. You are doing your partiality. You cannot, first you ask me, because Duryodhana was afraid that, he might lose the army, because he always wanted the army. He thought that, the physical power, strength is more important. But he actually was not understanding the spiritual strength, the spiritual potency of the Lord. He had totally, is ignorant of that. And he was thinking that, the more I have material wealth, or the material strength, I can defeat anyone. So and then he started arguing, no, I came first, and then you have to ask me the choice, right of choice, the first choice. Okay, then Krishna said, okay, fine, you ask. Then he told, okay. Then again Krishna argued with him, no, Arjuna is younger. Why don't he ask? Let him ask first. That also he denied. No, I came first. You should ask me. He was afraid. Then finally he said, Krishna, okay, go ahead, ask. Which do you want? My army or myself? So obviously, immediately Duryodhana grabbed that opportunity and said, no, I want your army, I want your people force. And he gave it. Whereas Arjuna had to settle with Krishna. Actually, he wanted Krishna only. So for him, it was not an issue. And that is how, it's a wonderful pastime. There are so many instances where the lotus feet is glorified. And we also come across the Amrita Manthana, Samudra Manthana, when the Asuras and Suras, both of them came. The Suras, what they took in the Vasukis, they took the humble position. They approached the tail of the snake, whereas the Asuras went and approached and they took the front, the mouth of the Vasuki. And obviously, when the churning was going on, what came first was actually the fire, the poison, and all that. So they were affected by that, and many of them were perished in that fiery atmosphere. Whereas the suras or the devotees or the demigods were safe because they were at the they were catching the lotus feet of the Lord, and finally they got the amrita, the mercy of the Lord. So like this, we can quote so many examples. In fact, next 2-3 shlokas also talks about the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's why I'm stressing more, and then also trying to understand, and even when we take the ashraya of the Lord, ashraya or the shelter of the Lord, it should be the lotus feet. That way. And Prabhupada, in one of the comments in the purport, he also talks about this. I'll just read this. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada would often say, do not try to see Krishna, but try to behave, act, and live in such a way that Krishna is very pleased to see you. We have to remember that we are the object and Krishna is the subject. And Prabhupada once said, though I could not find the exact words in reference, when we stand in front of the deities, then we should be in a mood that deity is asking us, yes, you have come. What have you done for me? This, of course, is in not so subtle reference to our preaching activity. So it's a good idea that when we stand in front of our favorite deities, then we should give our report, since whatever period has elapsed, as to what did we do to preach and spread or share the teachings of Mahaprabhu. Believe me, at least for me, every single time, it's a very humbling experience to stand and give my report. The practice also gives us some idea of our helplessness, despite our best intentions and efforts. Hence, it increases our mood of dependence on Krishna, and then inspire us, pray to Krishna for help and guidance. So it may be a good idea to start practicing it. According to the Bhagavata school, the Lord's rasa dancing is the smiling face of the Lord. Since it is recommended in this verse that one should gradually progress from the lotus feet up to the smiling face, we shall not jump at once to understand the Lord's pastimes in the rasa dance. So that's why Lord's pastimes is in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Whereas in the first 2-3 cantos, we get the basics of what is bhakti. And that's why we should focus. If you take the form of the Lord, the first 2-3 cantos are all in the lotus feet of the Lord, where the real importance, the crux of the principles of bhakti is given. So that's what Prabhupada is telling, that you first concentrate on the lotus feet. And then he says, not jump to the rasa dance or the pastimes of the Lord. It is better to practice concentrating our attention by offering flowers and tulsi to the lotus feet of the Lord. In this way, we gradually become purified by the archana process. We dress the Lord, bathe him, etc. And all these transcendental activities help us purify our existence. When we reach the higher standards of purification, if we see the smiling face of the Lord or hear the rasa dance pastimes of the Lord, then we can release his activities. In the Shrimad Bhagavatam, therefore, the rasa dance pastimes are delineated in the 10th canto. Hare Krishna. So this is all the glories of the Lord. And then I will also just cover very important thing is, what is that, what are the marks on the lotus feet of the Lord in Krishna and in Srimati Radharani. First, in the Krishna's lotus feet, right foot, barley coin is there, the mount of barley corn. The disc, Sudarshana, is there. Padma is there. Ankusha, elephant goad, that what the Mahouts, they control the elephant by this elephant goad. Then Vajra, thunderbolt is there. Victory flag is there. Then Uddhava Rekha, a line is there. And 4 swastika symbols are there. Then 4 jamun fruits, the jamun or the nerle we call. So that is there. Then Ashtagan. So there's 8, the square put into 2 sides, like one is standing, the square is there, and then one is tilted to the angles. So that is Ashtagan. So these 11 items are there. On the left foot, there is Akasha. The 2 circles are there, Akasha representing Akash. Then the conch shell, the Shanka is there. Unstrung bow, where the bow or the billu or the bow which is there, without the string, it is there. And the cow's hoof print, the cows, 2 cows, the pada is there. 4 water pots are there. Then a triangle is there, a half moon is there, and a fish is there in the bottom of his lotus feet. So like this, this we should also meditate upon, and then it's all good information that we can meditate on this. And in the Srimati Radharani's food, you have conch shell, a mountain, sacrificial altar, earring, club, or a gadha, then a chariot, then Shakti, representing Shakti, and then fish. This is there. What is there in the left foot of the Lord? Fish is there. Many of the things are in the right foot of Srimati Radharani. And in the left foot, whatever is there in the right foot of Krishna is there here left, like barley corn, the Shanka, the elephant gourd, Ankusha, lotus, victory flag, umbrella, and a few, one or two things are different. Like bracelet is there in Radharani, Srimati Radharani, which is worn on the hand. Then flower, and then flowering creeper is there, and a half moon is there. So this is the importance of the sweet of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, from where can we get all the details? Since you went
this actually, this is actually I have taken from ISKCON Desire Tree, Mataji.
Okay.
Yeah. It is there, and it is also mentioned in I think Chaitanya Charitamrita also. It is mentioned.
Antulila?
I'm not sure where, but it is there. It is mentioned.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So now just going further into the purport, so he says that the minds of materialistic persons are disturbed because they are not able to come to this regulative, they're not able to do the spiritual activity. And because of their quest for name, fame, qualities, and they are not able to come to this platform. Whereas the devotee, he will always meditate on the lotus feet, and this way he can achieve this bhakti. And then Prabhupada also talks about that, what is that which is binding the human is actually the enjoyment to the sex life. And also Bhagavatam also talks about that, that Pumsastriya Mitini Bhavam Thayor Mito Hridaya Granthi. So that Hridaya Granthi is actually the one by the attachment to the sex. So that's why the more we attain knowledge and then get detached, then only we can progress. And the famous Yamunacharya's quote is also mentioned, how he was feeling disgusted of the sex life, and then how he progressed himself in this spiritual life. Of course, he's a very great exalted devotee, but then he's also giving us that how this sex life, if you're too much indulgence, then we'll get actually contaminated, and then we cannot do the spiritual service. And finally, Prabhupada talks of how Mahaprabhu strongly recommended this process of hearing from a bona fide devotee. And we also hear that even Mahaprabhu himself was always listening to Bhagavatam Katha through Gadadhar Pandit, to Swarup Damodar, that he was listening to Prahlad Charitra, Dhruva Charitra, Gopi Gita. So like this, although he's the Lord himself, he's setting an example that he's always listening to these stories and this Bhagavata and the scriptures. So that way he was keeping himself enjoyed. In fact, even Prabhupada also, we have seen that how he was reading his own purport and then enjoying, because that is the most sublime method, very, very powerful method is hearing. And again, now we are talking of the meditating on the lotus feet. And such a bona fide spiritual master is accepted by regularly hearing from him about the Lord. So this is all about the lotus feet. Now let us go to the next 2-3 shlokas, and then devotees can read very interesting shlokas. Hare Krishna. 43 can be read, and the translation, and somebody can read the purport.
Shanti Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Vishwasya janma sthiti samyamrate kritavarasya padmabhujam te brajame sarve sharanam yadyadisha smritam prayachati abhayam swapumsam.
Translation.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, and therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees.
Haribol. Yeah, thank you. And next devotee can read the purport.
Divya Mataji.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For the creation, maintenance and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, there are three incarnations, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara, Lord Shiva. They are the controllers of or masters of the three modes of material nature which cause these phenomenal manifestations. Vishnu is the master of mode of goodness. Brahma is the master of passion, worship Lord Brahma, and those in the mode of ignorance worship Lord Shiva. All three of these deities are incarnations of the Supreme Lord because he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demigods directly refer to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and not to the different incarnations. The incarnations of Vishnu in the material world is, however, directly worshipped by the demigods. It is learned from the various scriptures that the demigods approach Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk and submit their grievances whether there is some difficulties in the administration of universal affairs. Although they are incarnations of the Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva worship Lord Vishnu, and thus they are also counted amongst the demigods and not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who worship Lord Vishnu are called demigods, and persons who do not do so are called asuras or demons. Vishnu always takes the part of the demigods, but Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the. Please scroll, Mataji.
Side of the demons.
Take the sides of the demons. It is not that they become one in interest with them, but sometimes they do something in order to gain control over the demons. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Bol. So here the demigods are further continuing, and then they're again glorifying that we want to take shelter of your lotus feet because this gives us remembrance and courage. So like this, even if the demigods has to perform their activities or their bhakti, their sadhana, they are so much dependent on the Lord lotus feet. So this, like this, they are glorifying. And then Prabhupada also tells about those three incarnations. Actually, we call them as the Guna Avatara. There are many avatars of the Lord. There is Yuga Avatara, Purusha Avatara, Guna Avatara, Leela Avatara. So like this, there are 6 varieties. So in that, one of this Guna Avatara is this Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. The Lord himself comes through the agency of Balram. Recently, we celebrate Balram Jayanti, Sankarshna. So that through the agency of Balram, he creates all these expansions. And again, the quadruple expansion of Vasudeva, Sankarshna, Pradyumna, Aniruddha is there. So, and from that, Narayana comes. And then from Narayana comes these 3 Guna Avatara. So here, as we can, Prabhupada is clearly maintaining here that Vishnu is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara are the Guna Avataras. So Vishnu takes care of the Sattva-guna. Devotees who are in the Sattva-guna worship Vishnu. Devotees who are in the mode of Rajoguna worship Brahma. Devotees in the mode of ignorance, Tamas, worship Maheshwara. So like this, they are categorized, and the devotees are also getting the equal result. Whom they approach, they will get that same result. The Bhagavad Gita also says that in the shloka, where whoever worship the Devatas go to Devaloka, who worship the Pitrus go to Pitraloka, but who worship to me, they come back to me. Like that he clarifies in the 9th chapter. So Prabhupada also tells that that these demigods, they're also like demigods are taking the mercy of the Lord, and then in the material world, whenever the demigods are getting affected by the asuras, when they go and approach the hell, seek for help from Krishna, they actually are approaching the Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk. That is basically the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So among the 3 Purusha Avatara, the first one is Mahavishnu or Karanodakashayi Vishnu. Second is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, where Brahma comes from his navel. And then the third one is Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So that is this Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, to whom the demigods also approach and then get the boon from the Lord. So like this, Prabhupada is clarifying very clearly that the moment anybody starts worshipping Vishnu, they are called demigods. The Suras, they get the characteristics of the demigod. So pure they become, because they're always mostly in the mode of goodness. And those who do not worship Vishnu are like demons, generally because they're in the mode of passion or in tama, like we Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Kamsa, they were all Ramana. So all this, they were all either worshipping Shiva Bhaktas, or they went it upon Brahma and got so many boons. So like this, there are so many asuras who fall under that category. So that's why Prabhupada is telling Vishnu always takes the part of the demigods. That means he helps the demigods or the devotees or the suras. But Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the side of demons. So they take the side. Again, this all that is, it's not that they become one in interest. It's not that when Hiranyakashipu was granted the wish by Brahma, the boon, it's not that he wanted to become one in interest, or he was also part of that I'm also favoring that you should defeat Vishnu or Krishna. No, it was not that. He just did it as a part of the Leela. He was ordained by the Lord, and that is how. So he is giving that Leela, because Brahma also knows, now you're asking me, you're my devotee, so I have to satisfy you. But Brahma knew what is also going to happen, in the sense that he will get, demolished. He'll get killed by the Lord. And for the take part in the Leela, he had to give those boons, and he knew the ultimate result. So why they do? Sometimes they do in order to gain control over the demons. So like this, Lord's creation is there. And here again, the glorification of the lotus feet is there, that all the demigods, including demigods, they are taking shelter of the Lord. Okay. So there is a classic example that the fish, when a fisherman is coming and he comes into the water, the lake or a sarovar, and then when he starts fishing, so he starts putting his net, and then he grabs the whatever is available, all the fishes will catch. But an intelligent fish, what it does, that we want a safe place, so that it should not get caught in the net. So what that intelligent fish does is that it will come and stand near to the feet of that fisherman himself. So as long as it is in the safe safe region of the feet of that fisherman, the net cannot reach and it cannot get caught. So that's just a crude example is given. So the more we stay at the lotus feet of the Lord, the more we are protected. Hare Krishna. So next sloka, Mataji, anybody who's there in the queue can read the 44th.
Anita Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yeah.
यत्सानुबन्धे शतिदेहगेहे मामाहमीत्यूढ दुराग्रहाणां पुंसां सुदूरं वसतोऽपि पुर्यां भजे मतत्ते भगवन् पदाब्जम्. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You can read the translation, and another next devotee can read the purport.
Okay, translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. I think so many hand raises are there, Prabhuji. Someone can read the translation.
Still, we have bigger purports. Purports. Yeah,
okay.
Next to sloka.
Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. O Lord, persons who are entangled by undesirable eagerness for the temporary body and kinsmen, and who are bound by thoughts of mind and I, are unable to see your lotus feet, although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies. But let us take shelter of your lotus feet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Yeah, the purport, please.
Sudha Mataji. Divya Gopu Mataji.
Oh, Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Yeah, Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Mataji, maybe you can go ahead.
Yes, Sudha Mataji can read after you, Mataji.
Okay.
Divya Mataji, you continue.
Okay, ma'am. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The whole Vedic philosophy of life is that one should get rid of the material engagement of gross and subtle bodies, which only cause one to continue in a condemned life of miseries. This material body continues as long as one is not detached from the false conception of lording it over material nature. The impetus for lording it over material nature is the sense of mine and I. I am the lord of all that I survey. So many things I possess, and I shall possess more and more. Who can be richer than I in wealth and education? I am the master and I am the God. Who else is there but me? All these ideas reflect the philosophy of Aham Mama, the conception that I am everything. Persons conducted by such a conception of life can never get liberation from material bondage. But even a person perpetually condemned to the miseries of material existence can get relief from bondage if he simply agrees to hear only Krishna Katha. In this age of Kali, the process of hearing Krishna Katha is the most effective means to gain release from unwanted family affection and thus find permanent freedom in life. The age of Kali is full of sinful reactions, and people are more and more addicted to the qualities of this age. But simply by hearing and chanting of Krishna Katha, one is sure to go back home to Godhead. Therefore, people should be trained to hear only Krishna Katha by all means in order to get relief from all miseries. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Pranam. Yeah. So this again shloka is talking about the lotus feet of the Lord, and they're telling what the demigods are telling, that people who are entangled in this temporary body affections and all that, so and they're affected by the aham mama, I did it, I'm the doer, they are unable to see the lotus feet. Although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies, because Paramatma himself is residing in the hearts of all the devotees, sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. So he's there, but they're blind because of so much of their eyes are covered with the cataract, and the skin which is there, the cataract skin is actually covering their vision, and they're not able to see the lotus feet of the Lord and appreciate and glorify him and take his shelter. So unfortunately, that is their way of life. But we want to take your shelter of your lotus feet. So they're telling, we as devotees, we want to take. And so Prabhupada also is mentioning how Krishna Katha is so powerful, and to release, and especially in this Kali Yuga, the most important process is the Yuga Dharma is actually the chanting of the holy names, Harinam Sankirtan. So this is how, it's very important that we do it. And again, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 10th chapter, he a very famous shloka, Matchita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Katayantascha Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So the one who are devotees who are constantly engaged, Matchitta, their mind is fully occupied with the glories of the Lord, and who are devoted to the Lord's service, Madgata Prana, their whole life are devoted. Bodhayanta Parasparam, who are preaching or discussing about the Krishna Katha. Katayantascha, Katayanta is actually talking about Krishna. Then Katayantascha Mam Nityam, about my glories always. What happens to them? Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. That they become pleased. They are completely satisfied. They'll find their life peaceful, sublime, and they enjoy Ramanti. See, how much ever we discuss the stories of Damodar Leela, especially in the Kartik month is coming now, in the next another 2 months, in about 50 days. So we keep discussing, so many houses we go, we do the Damodar Katha, we keep telling the same story over and over and over and again, but still the charm, the attractive nature of that story always remains. And every time we recite that shloka of that story, we get a new dimension, and then we keep enjoying. And that the same way, the hearer also will get that sheer knowledge, and also he gets enlivened. So that way we keep enjoying. So that is the greatness. Whereas a mundane story, or what is there in the karmic life, a story, it might be a good love story, it might be a good climax, it might be good, whatever it could be that, but it is not going to stay forever. There is always that feeling of repeatedness or duplication. So like that, and then we don't feel, and then at point of time we just stop. We don't continue that, and we don't appreciate. Whereas Krishna Katha is something we keep continuing to tell hundreds and hundreds of times. The more we do it, the more the rasa or the mellows we get out of that pastime. Hare Krishna. So we'll go to the next shloka, 45.
Sudha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Tanvai asat prativit akshibir ye parartantar manasa paresha ato na pashyanti urugaya nunam yete padan yasa vilasa lakshya. Translation I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Translation by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O great Supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see your lotus feet, but they are seen by your pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendentally enjoy your activities. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Next, we can ask Radhika Mataji.
Mataji, I'll do the next sloka. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Okay, then Sindhu Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Which one, Mataji? Translation?
Purport.
Okay. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Can scroll it down, Mataji?
Yeah. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, 18.61, the Lord is situated in everyone's heart. It is natural that one should be able to see the Lord at least within himself, but that is not possible for those whose internal vision has been covered by external activities. The pure soul, which is symptomized by consciousness, can be easily perceived even by a common man because consciousness is spread all over the body. The yoga system, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita, is to concentrate the mental activities internally and thus see the lotus feet of the Lord within oneself. But there are many so-called yogis who have no concern with the Lord, but are only concerned with consciousness, which they accept as a final realization. Such realization of consciousness is taught by Bhagavad Gita within only a few minutes, whereas the so-called yogis take continuous years to realize it because of their offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord. The greatest offense is to deny the existence of the Lord as separate from the individual souls, or to accept the Lord and the individual soul as one and the same. The impersonalists misinterpret the theory of reflection, and thus they wrongly accept the individual consciousness as the supreme consciousness. Shall I continue, Professor?
Another one para, you can continue.
Yeah. The theory of the reflection of the Supreme can be clearly understood without difficulty by any sincere common man. When there is a reflection of the sky on the water, both the sky and the stars are seen within the water, but it is understood that the sky and the stars are not to be accepted on the same level. The stars are parts of the sky and therefore they cannot be equal to the whole. The sky is the whole and the stars are the parts. They cannot be one and the same. Transcendentalists who do not accept the supreme consciousness as separate from the individual consciousness are as offensive as the materialists who deny even the existence of the Lord.
Hare
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Who is in the next queue? They can read.
Radhika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much. The shloka, I said I'll go with the shloka. So, yeah, I'll do that. Thank you, Mataji. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Apanena te deva katha sudaya pravrida bhaktya vishada shayaye vairagya sharam pratilabhya bodham yatanjasan viyur akunta dishnyam. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now Kishori Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Should I go ahead? Translation, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O Lord, person who, because of their serious attitude, attain the stage of enlightened devotional service, achieve the complete meaning of renunciation and knowledge, and attain the Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual sky simply by drinking the nectar of your topics. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Should I go ahead purport or?
We'll give chance to the next. Yes, start with only Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dr. Karpagavalli Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. The difference between Prabhupada purport by Prabhupada ki jai. The difference between the impersonalistic mental speculators and the pure devotees of the Lord is that the former pass through a miserable understanding of the absolute truth at every stage, whereas the devotees enter into the kingdom of all pleasures even from the beginning of their attempt. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you can go ahead. You are good, Mataji.
Thank you. The devotee has only to hear about devotional activities, which are as simple as anything in ordinary life, and he also acts very simply, whereas the mental speculators has to pass through a jugglery of words, which are partially facts and partially a make show for the maintenance of an artificial impersonal status. In spite of the strenuous efforts to attain perfect knowledge, the impersonals attains merging into the impersonal oneness of the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, which is also attained by the enemies of the Lord simply because of their being killed by him. The devotees, however, attain to the highest stage of knowledge and renunciation and achieve the Vaikuntha Lokas, the planets in the spiritual sky. The impersonalists attain only the sky and does not achieve any tangible transcendental bliss, whereas the devotee attains the planets where real spiritual life prevails. With the serious attitude, the devotee throws away all achievements like so much dust and he accepts only devotion service, the transcendental culmination. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Danapram. So the last two shlokas, what we read is talking, and Prabhupada is very heavy on the impersonalist, because whereas Bhakti Yoga is all about personal seva of the Lord, but other devotees who are impersonalists or actually the Mayavadis, they actually don't consider the Lord in his personal form. They consider that Lord, Supreme Lord, is just supreme consciousness or some consciousness. And they equate themselves with the Lord, saying that, I also am consciousness, I also have, I'm also having intelligence, so Lord is also having. So we are the same, like Aham Brahmasmi. So they say, and then everything is through this soul. And the most important thing is that they don't consider the Lord as name and Lord himself as the same. The potency of the Lord name and the Lord is actually the same. So that's why they don't take up to the chanting of the holy names, and they are bewildered by that. Whereas the devotees, when we talk of Krishna or Rama, we actually mean by the name that we actually say Abhinatvam Namna Namino, that the name and the personality is the same. So that is how the moment we say chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, we are actually in connection with the Lord. And there is no difference between him, the Lord, and his names. So that way we attain his mercy, potency. So this is what Prabhupada has spoken here. And impersonalism, I mean, when they don't consider the existence of the Lord, so they just get attracted to the effulgence of the Lord, and then they worship. But ultimately, that is not the higher stage. It's actually the beginning. And that's why when they go to the merge in the effulgence, they actually cannot stay there because there is no variety, and they can always fall down. And if they fall down, they again come back to the material world. Whereas the devotees of the Lord go to the Vaikuntha Loka, which is full of variety, full of enjoyment, full of pastimes, full of service, the seva, and that's how they get involved, attracted to the Lord and his devotees, and can stay there permanently. Hare Krishna. So with this, I end today's session. If any devotees has got any realization, any questions, comments, they can raise it, please.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. Yet another enlightening session. Devotees who have any doubts can please raise their hands. Shanti Mataji, do you have a question? Or was it for reading? Anita Mataji, yes, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a question on the lotus feet of the Lord, which you were mentioning. Yes. That Jaman fruit is there, right?
Yeah.
So what is the significance of placing Jaman fruit in the lotus feet of the Lord? Can you just explain on that?
I mean, I'm not aware of the technical aspect, why these are there, and then how the significance of it. I'm not actually aware of it. I mean, there's not come across that clear-cut explanation. But these are all the very, the significant marks which are there. For example, a chariot is there in Srimati Radharani, and then a tree is there, so creeper is there. So I've not heard about it, or I've not come across it. Of course, definitely there will be some significance. And jamun, as I can understand in my own understanding, my own limited understanding, it's actually a very seasonal fruit. We know that it comes once in a year. And jamun has got so much of Ayurvedic medicinal characteristics, and we know that today it is being treated for the diabetic, correct? So like that. And also Shastras, Ayurveda also tells that there are several fruits which comes once in a year. They have a lot of significance, and that should be tasted, and it should be eaten, and it should be offered to the Lord, and we should consume it. Then our health will be good. When there are so many fruits which have a once in a life, it's a one-time crop, right? The sugar cane is there, jamun is there, and you have so many fruits. Sitafal is there. Then there is orange. There, every fruit, most of fruits, if you see, mango is there. You cannot grow mango in the winter. You cannot ripen it. So it's all specific. The whole nature, Krishna's nature is like that. It's all unique, and at that point of time only you'll get, like vegetables also. So many vegetables will come only in that season. So these are all Krishna's creation, and obviously they have their own significance. But now today, because of cold storage, there's so many unwanted methods. Actually, we are spoiling all that, and we are not actually getting the right the stuff or the essence. I hope I have been able to answer, but I think definitely we can do some research on this and then get some info.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Karpagvali Mataji, you can go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful session. I just want as a neophyte devotee, I want to just you to clarify me. In that one verse is coming that the lotus feet is of the Lord is in ourselves. Actually, we find the lotus feet, Prabhuji, and we can worship. Then we cannot. In that verse, it is like lotus feet. Please explain, Prabhuji.
Yeah, see, the understanding is that we have Paramatma. He is residing in our heart, right? He is residing.
Yes.
In our heart. So that's what it says, that although he's residing...
We place Paramatma in our heart with that. We was in Manasigama, we can, I am chameleon, we can worship by offering flowers, and then morning, if we're not able to go to the puja room, I'm inside, I will do my heart and my this thing is my ghee, and also offer me Mangalati in my heart itself. Like that, the Padam where it is, I will worship, I'll see the Padam. When I go to the temple, I'll see the Padam, and I'm very this thing, Prabhuji. I want to see where in our body Padam is there.
No, that's what. The Lord is there residing. So his feet is also there, right? His whole form is there in the heart as Paramatma is residing. But we are not able to see. We are not able to offer any, any prayers or any flowers, or we are not able to do. We always want to see something physical because our mental condition, mind, the intelligence is that we want to see a form. We are more attracted to the physical form because the material nature is like that. So we think that Lord is there. We have to go to the temple. We have to do the puja there, offer our prayers. But actually, He is there, residing in our heart. Exalted yogis, that's what Prabhupada says, the transcendentalists, the devotees, exalted devotees, they are doing Manas Puja. Now, every moment they are doing, and they get the benefit. So like that, of course, it's a very, very high, task. But this is what, like devotees like Bilwa Mangal Thakur, or devotees like Amrish Maharaj, so many of them, they were worshipping the Lord. They didn't have much of facility to worship and make a big temple, but they were just, happy worshipping them, within the heart. So that's what.
As I am concerned, I am very fond. This thing that feet of the Lord only. And I go to the temple in Padmanabha Swami temple in Trivandrum,
Yes,
go,
yes.
and Tiruvattar temple in our
Yes.
plan near Tiruvattar in Kanyakumari. And then Tirupati Saram, Sri
Yes,
Rangam,
yes.
and all I go to worship the Lord's feet only, Prabhuji.
Yes. Yes. Actually, the acharyas also have glorified. So many acharyas have written poems also. The Lord himself, he is, lying on that banyan tree on the leaf. And then what the Lord is actually sucking his own thumb. Correct? The feet of the thumb. And they're glorifying that also, the acharyas. So that how sweet. No, Krishna himself is, amazed at how sweet is nectarian is the thumb, and he's sucking the thumb. We have that Vatapatra Dhari Krishna. So like that, so much of significance. Of course, Lord's whole body is a spiritual Sachidananda Vigraha. And there is, these interactions by the devotees.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hari Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
regarding this Jambu Phala, no, someone asked. So
yes.
It is written that this mark is indicative that his feet are only worshipable objects for all those who are residents of this region of Jambudvipa. That's what
Okay.
they are telling.
Yeah, Jambudvipa. Yeah, some significance, yes. Actually, the whole India probably was the only place, or this place only we get this Jambu. That is how they got Jambu, the name. All that is
yeah, yes, sir.
Uma Mataji?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Prabhuji, this my question is not related to today's this thing. Shall I ask something?
Yeah. As long as it is possible with my limited
Prabhuji,
knowledge.
in your earlier class, no, you told that you are from a Brahmin family. Is it right?
You're from?
Then you're from a Brahmin family.
Yes,
like
yes,
that you are.
Yes.
Then how to correlate with this Upanayanam and the second initiation in ISKCON, Prabhuji? That is Brahminical.
Actually, in our traditional Upanayanam, in the what is there as per the Shastras, which is actually coming among the 16 upacharas or actually the samskaras. So Upanayanam is one of them. Like you have the, when the child is born, we do the, after that we do the, the naming ceremony, then we cut the hairs, right? So many of these samskaras are there. Annaprashna is there, the first feeding of the rice, grains, and all these are samskaras. In that Upanayanam also comes, which is generally done in the age of when the son is at 7 years, after he crosses 7 years, within 8 years, like that, the Upanayanam has to be done. Upanayanam is basically that the child is getting first initiation, or he's given that right to start worshipping, because his mind is matured. He can concentrate on the Lord and he can do the spiritual activity, religious activity. So that the first guru for that Upanayanam, actually the mantra is actually given by the father to the son. Okay? Yes. Now this father to the son, it is actually, if the father is really Krishna conscious, then he'll probably give that Krishna conscious mantra. But most of us, when we come in our karmic, because of our family cultures or our traditions, we follow our own mantra. When I was actually chanting, although we were Madhva Sampradaya, Krishna and Vishnu followers, but I had some attraction for Ganesha. So I was always worshipping Ganesha, and I was of course doing all the prayers for all the Ashtotaras and all that. So like that, it might be varied, and somebody might be a Shiva Bhakta. He might give Om Namah Shivaya. But actually Shastra says in this Gayatri Mantra, the Gayatri Mantra is given. And that is the father gives to the son. And what is that? You must be knowing that, that Om Bhur Bhuva. I'm not going to complete it. Yeah, this is the Gayatri Mantra. Yes. So this is given. And that they have to chant, and they have to do the Sandhya Vandanam, all these things. But it is actually a very ritualistic project. And then here also, the Gayatri is actually Bhargo Devasya. So it's actually praying to the sun god, so that he gives us the required energy, and he replenishes us, and then he keeps us. So there is not much of bhakti or attachment to the lotus feet of the Lord. So it is just one way of worshipping. So it is very limited practice. But for that family, for that child, it's a beginning. We have to understand that. As he grows, then he comes across Veda Patana he does. I mean, this is a traditional Varnashrama. And the Veda Patana he does. Then finally he reads all the scriptures. Then finally he comes to understanding that Krishna is the Vedas Chaham. So Sarvasya Veda. So all that he understands is that Vedas Chaham Sarvasya. So he comes to the understanding that Krishna is the supreme. So that's a very long process. So when a person comes to the Krishna consciousness, we already get to that Hare Krishna mantra, which is actually the most potent Maha Mantra, because it is also mentioned in the Kali Santarana Upanishad and various other Upanishads and Puranas also it is mentioned. So this is what, and it has come directly from the spiritual world. And this way, when we take Diksha, the Guru reads out the mantra, Hare Krishna mantra, and the disciple has to hear it. So in the first Harinam initiation, only Harinam is given, the mantra is given. But as he progresses and he further, wants to be committed to the parampara, then he takes the second initiation, which is actually the Brahminical initiation, where he can actually do the Saligrama Puja, he can do deity service, he can be more, purified, and he can take much more responsibilities. So that is when the actual mantra, Gayatri mantra, is given. And in our ISKCON, we have 7 mantras which is given, not just that Gayatri mantra. So like this, there are so many mantras. Actually, this one of the mantras was recited by Brahmaji, which is mentioned in Bhagavatam. So that much powerful these mantras are. And then only he gets this mantra in the Brahminical initiation in the ISKCON parampara. And obviously, this is all supported by the Shastras. And we have sufficient proof, about this. Whereas compared to the other Vaishnava Sampradayas, they might be doing it partly, or they might not be. I mean, that way they might not be doing it fully. But whereas in Brahma Madhva Gaudiya ISKCON Sampradaya, we are doing this, word to word as what the Shastras are prescribed. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandas Pranam Prabhuji. Janki here. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. You always give your own example, Prabhuji. So which is very, for us to follow, your example is wonderful, Prabhuji. But just wanted to ask you, Prabhuji, as you are saying, you yourself report to the Lord, what sadhana you did, what did you do, kind of, you said, na, Prabhuji. Can you explain more about that, Prabhuji?
Actually, I read it from Prabhupada's his words. Yes. Prabhupada had mentioned that when he was in discussion with other devotees, that you should go to if you go to the Lord, when you stand in front of the deities, you have to tell and you have to give a report what you have done, how much you have progressed, or where you are lacking. So this way, it's like it's like a report card, and it actually takes care of your own performance. Like how we have in our offices, we have the job. The assessment, performance assessment, so many things. Or in a school, we have the report card, like that. And today is actually the Teachers' Day, right? The whole world is celebrating as a Teachers' Day. But what more, how much, bigger a teacher is, can be compared to Srila Prabhupada, who has given so much of knowledge. I think somebody shared on the chat also that today is a Teachers' Day. And then Prabhupada has been one of our biggest, greatest teacher of all the mankind, great Acharya. And we just have to, follow his, as much as possible, follow his instructions. So what Prabhupada was telling was that you have to open out, and then you have to tell your report. Then only, the Lord can reciprocate, and then he can. If suppose we expressing frankness, then Lord may not reciprocate. So this is just one of the acts of reciprocation and interaction, that we remain humble, we remain truthful, we remain sincere, and how much ever you're progressing, but still you have to consider yourself as the lowest. That is the height of bhakti. The lowest of the lowest will actually get the best of the best in terms of the result. That is, as compared to the material world, where a person who keeps boasting and then who keeps highlighting himself will get more glories. The material spiritual world is actually the opposite. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. That's a very nice in front of the deity and then talk over, about your progress, what you've done. I really liked it. One thing more, Prabhuji, I want to ask. That means if a person has not taken the second initiation, you can't go and do seva in the temple?
The altar seva, the deity seva, the puja, arti,
No, not
the
that.
abhishekam.
Yeah, not that, Prabhu. Just other seva. Just making
Other
galas.
sevas, it can be done by any devotee. But for the Brahminical, these are the more advanced stages of service for which they are eligible to do. Like other the sevas like cooking in the temple or flower garland making. Actually, cooking also is done only by the initiated devotees. Not for that is the first Harinam initiated devotees. And but whereas a garland seva or a sweeping the temple or doing some decoration or doing some preaching activity, that can be done from any devotee who is just chanting even a single round. Also can do. It's not a there's no harm in that. See, that way they get an opportunity to serve and they get more inclination, and Lord also will reciprocate and give them more opportunities. So this way they can progress.
Yes. Also, one more question, Prabhuji. Now, some people take only the Harinam initiation, and the others go ahead with the Brahmanical initiation. Is it right to take both initiations, Brahmanical especially?
Actually, Brahminical is recommended. Even Prabhupada also recommended that we take Brahminical initiation because your progress can be faster.
Okay.
The thing is, Harinam actually can be sufficient. Can be sufficient to get love of Godhead. Ultimately, what is that? You have to get love of Godhead. You have to be sincere, and your bhav should be there that you are having that love of Godhead. If you're not having that, despite being a Brahminical, if you don't have the love of God, then what is the use? So there is no. So it's actually a balance of it. And if you take a Brahminical, your progress can be faster. That's what Prabhupada has said. So it again depends on devotee to devotee, their personal perspectives, and so this way.
So Prabhuji, in this regard, Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt you. So if I understand right, if we are already Brahmins, then second initiation doesn't happen for us in ISKCON, or for everyone it happens, Prabhuji? How is it?
But what is by birth is not going to matter in the spiritual world, actually. So by birth you may be Brahminical, but what you are doing at the end of the day, if you're working for an organization or working for somebody who is a man-eater, sorry to use that word, then what is that? Then you're actually a Shudra, Kalau Shudra Sambhava. So unless Brahminical means Brahmana, your birth, but you should also practice the Brahminical qualities.
Yes,
actually,
Prabhuji.
Brahmana is not supposed to work.
So those who have the Yajnopavit already, for them what happens, Prabhuji? In second,
that is actually that the moment you take a spiritual
Prabhuji,
birth.
I think you're muted.
No.
Oh, I'm not able to hear you. I'm not able to hear you, Prabhuji.
The moment you might be a Brahminical and following whatever practices, whatever it is, but still you are not 100%. You are not in a qualified stage. Only when the Guru initiates and in a sampradaya, bona fide sampradaya, only then you will get that the purificatory process. So that is most important. And by because even your karmic name which is there is dead and gone, except for your official correspondence. You cannot be called by your karmic name also. The moment Guru gives the Harinam, that Harinam should be always propagated, and you should tell your own family members, your friends, that my name is now not Anil Kumar, I am Aniruddha Sevadas. And that only should be told by them. Only then I also get the mercy, they also get the mercy. So like that. So the Guru gives the Harinam, and then the Brahminical Diksha. This is actually the most potent, and this actually will stay in a longer term. And since Guru is our eternal benefactor, so he is the one who can take care of our souls.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Yeah, Haribol, Hare Krishna.
But Prabhuji, the karmic people also, you can tell them to call us by initiator name. They find it a bit funny.
What to do? But that is actually, it is like, so many people change their names in between, right? They make an affidavit and then put a notice, advertisement for so many reasons, and they change it, right? For various reasons. So when they can do that, why can't you say boldly that I am now in ISKCON, I am now initiated, so my name is this.
I tell them, but they find it a bit weird.
Yeah, but weird. But see the benefit, Mataji. They are taking a holy name. See, my name was something else, but it has got a spiritual name. And if they're calling out that spiritual name, It's like Ajamalya, probably they also will be delivered.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes. See, and again, the more important thing is in the name, when we get our spiritual name, Harinam, what is important is not the first two names. What is important is the end of the name.
Yes.
Aniruddha
Yes.
Seva Dasa.
Yeah, Dasa.
That is Dasi.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Dandadvana.
Yeah,
thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji.
Jai Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Happy Teachers Day to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Wonderful
Hare Krishna,
teacher.
Dandadvana.
I think time is also ending. I think we'll end today. Maybe we'll have in this next session some other questions are there.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Panchakalpadurvyascha
Panchakalpadurvyascha
kripasindhubhyascha
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.
Shall I end the session, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.